I suspect that I am not the father of both my kids. Where to go now? I am posting here because one of my friends suggested me to turn to Reddit for advice and keeping some sort of anonymity. I would like to hear some opinions and listen to what other people think of the situation. I am really new on this website and I may not be familiar on how to use it yet, so apology. Me and my wife have known each other for 6 years and have been married for 4. I am 32 and she is 29, if that matters. I try to be a good parent, but sometimes I am overworked and some other times I just want time for myself to watch a series or play football with my mates. Sometimes my wife fights me over this absence from family duties, but I need to disconnect to keep sane. I know myself well enough by now. Of course, both my kids have everything they need and we were able to put them to private schools and specialized classes to keep their education going despite the pandemic. We met each other because we were in the same class in our MBA in London, where we were both foreigners in a new country far from home. I have since then started my own business and she works in a large firm in London. It has not always been smooth sailing, but we made it work both financially and we found each other. She understood that many days I could be with her for only a couple of minutes as work was really getting busy and it was a challenge starting a small business ground up. 4 years ago, she got pregnant. We weren't really trying for a kid as we were both overworked, but when it happened I was overjoyed and proposed her. My daughter was not expected or planned, but certainly she was welcomed when she was born. 2 years ago, my son was born. Same as, we weren't really trying as I was overworked and 1 kid was more than enough, but we welcomed him with open arms. Fast forward to October 2020. We were driving and had a car accident, not our fault. My youngest was severely injured, so we called an ambulance and got admitted in A&E. As it turns out, they had to run a battery of tests and found that my son has a blood condition, a form of thalassemia, that will eventually need management. They also tested my daughter, as she was injured too, and found the same. Coincidentally, the A&E doctor on shift is one of my closest friends, and he informed me regarding the condition and told me there is nothing in the immediate to worry about. Some symptoms may show up later in their development, but they are manageable, and we got lucky. Long story short, in an abundance of caution, I got both my kids to a specialist. To our relief, we find that there is little chance that any serious problem will arise in the future. However, the doctor recommended us to get our blood tested to understand if we are both carriers of the defective gene, in which case thalassemia could become really bad and we shouldn't have a third child, or if just one of us is, in which case, little to worry about, yay. Well, I had the blood screen done and I am not a carrier of the genetic disorder. My wife isn't either. I have consulted my doctor friend and he has implied that there is a chance I am not the father, and the actual father is carrying and spreading the defective gene. I could take a paternity test, however my friend told me that in the UK it would be challenging to do so without the explicit consent of the mother of the kids. He has seen similar cases and usually the labs recommend against it at this stage or perform extensive checks prior to it, as the priority is to not disturb family equilibrium. My wife told me that the results were odd and she's sure the labs were mistaken. I have a text of her telling me to drop it until we are back home and can get the tests done by her family doctor. I am eroded by doubts and part of me wants to know the truth. Another part of me is scared of what I will find. How do I stay strong in this scenario? Should I press the issue or drop it? I see both pros and cons in doing either. This is affecting my private and professional life. On one hand, I tell myself I will be around for them as I am their father regardless of DNA. On the other hand, our family would be destroyed. I know myself and I am an inch from selling everything and going to live on a boat for the rest of my days. Any advice is appreciated, thank you. And #X200B. Update. Having seen all your messages, I have decided that I will take my kids and wife for a second round of tests in another lab. I am concerned about my situation, but, introspectively, I am not doing the good of my kids, which should come first. They have a genetic issue and we must be careful and assess the situation as best as we can. I have been told that it's important in any case to know if they have just one broken gene or 2 of them, and it's also critical to know who gave the genes to them. This is regardless of the situation we are currently in. If these tests show that both of them are positive for a single gene and me and my wife negative, well, I'll find a way to order a test online like you suggested. I have already booked an appointment for next week. I will not ask my wife to come with me for the test, I will simply tell her. Thank you everyone who spent some moments of their day coming with ideas and suggestions for me. I appreciate. You know those online family finder genetics things, like Ancestry DNA. Buy a kit for yourself and your kid. Submit them, and if you are related it'll tell you you probably won't need parental consent from your wife. I mean, I may be the outlier here, but can you get one of the at-home DNA tests and just do it and mail it off? It seems like this isn't something that should be weighing on you, while your wife pushes this off. This isn't really something one can just drop. Working in the medical field myself, yes, sometimes labs mess up, but this would have to be a pretty big oversight. She wants you to drop it until you can see a certain doctor back home. This is a red flag in addition to the obvious test results, because you have no way of knowing if this doctor will tell you the truth. I don't know what to tell you to do legally, but I would approach your wife in a non-accusatory way. Just tell her that you're sure it was a mistake, but this is affecting you mentally and you'd like to do a test just so you can put your mind at ease and put this behind you once and for all. Her reaction will tell you a lot. If it's fishy, trust it. Genetic anomalies exist. But I strongly recommend you contact a lawyer. Start the process of an online DNA kit. Set up a separate email for all communication regarding this topic. Truly decide what you are going to do if you go down this path, as this is your options. Both kids are not genetically yours but love you as their dad and will be treated as such in most eyes of the court until a lengthy court battle of you proving you're not the father. And courts have been delayed due to pandemic. One of the kids is yours but unlikely. Both kids are yours but you did irreparable damage to your relationship with your kids and marriage. So I express caution, tread slowly and think everything through. I was tested as a kid to see if I was a genetic carrier of a blood disease and it came out negative. As an adult I got tested again and I came out positive as a carrier. Anomalies in lab tests do happen, maybe ask your wife to get tested again. Obviously, you need to ask for a paternity test. I just want to add a comment in case this marriage survives. Sometimes my wife fights me over this absence from family duties, but I need to disconnect to keep sane. She needs to disconnect to keep sane, too. Do not carry this attitude into the future. You do not get to dump your responsibilities on the mother of your children just because you don't feel like doing it. You do need time for yourself, and that is fine, as long as you give her the same amount of time for herself. Parenthood is hard, deal with it. It's quite likely that your kids have a genetic condition that cannot yet be picked up by tests. Another possibility is that one of your tests was wrong. Genetic tests are by no means 100% foolproof. This seems more likely than that your wife cheated with the same man 2 years apart, and there is no sign of it. Unlikely. I recommend that you work harder at connecting with your family and spending time with them. If you are very busy at work but then spending a lot of time on hobbies, you are not prioritizing your family enough. Order 23andMe DNA kits. Legal advice UK might be a better fit. Your wife telling you to drop it? Family doctor. Maybe she will have this doctor lie for her. Get the DNA done ASAP. Are there any other strange things you noted over the years that makes you question this? Do they have similarities in appearance with you? Maybe also good to check whether their blood types don't already rule you out as a father. I don't understand how you don't already know they both carry a thalassemia trait. It is one of the things screened by the heel prick test on day 5. Also, they carry out hemoglobinopathy screening when you are pregnant, so your wife should have known her status already. Do you have any reason other than this to suspect her of infidelity over the years? I mean, it definitely sounds odd, but 2 important things to keep in mind: lab results can be wrong. It's totally possible that your or your wife's sample were kept in improper conditions, etc., so the test showed a false negative, and b, germline mutations are totally a thing that can randomly happen. This means that one of you could have a mutation that occurred only in your eggs sperm but not in you normal somatic cells. This would make it possible that your DNA results will show an absence of a mutation, while most of your kids would have it. If it is possible for you and your wife to retake the lab test, that might be the best first step towards making sure that this odd result isn't just an unfortunate fluke. Where is home? If they are not your kids, what will you do? I think you need to answer that question for yourself first. I'm also not sure about UK paternity law. Would you be relinquished of all your paternal obligations? You clearly do not trust your wife, so I would address that with her first. If she insists that she was faithful, then I would get a second opinion from a genetic counselor, which I would do anyway. I think you should do the tests, she does not need to know. This will haunt you and you need to be sure about something as serious as this. Start with 123 DNA kits and take it from there. Either way, you need to know. The good news is that if only the one parent has the thalassemia gene, then this bodes well for your children. I could take a paternity test, however my friend told me that in the UK it would be challenging to do so without the explicit consent of the mother of the kids. That is some bullshit. Sacrificing the father so that people aren't disturbed by the result. Go use that online ancestry DNA thing. Also, talk to a lawyer about this because you may need one in the near future. Amazon has paternity tests. They won't hold up in court, but they'll give you the answers you need. As for needing alone time to disconnect, we all need that, and it's okay for you to take time to do that, but you need to give your wife the same opportunity. There should be mandatory DNA tests after pregnancy. Find a loophole and get those aunt story kits done. Also, her being specific about the family doctor is concerning, maybe he's the real father. Get some of those DNA test kits. Do them on the down low, or just do something like, "Look honey, I got 23andMe DNA kits for us all. It's going to be so much fun." I wouldn't be accusatory, but I would flat out ask her if there was any possibility the children may not be yours as neither of you carry the gene. I think her response would be telling. The family doctor is the father. Oh God, if your friend is an Italian dude on his early 30s, I think I've read his post today earlier in another subreddit. Do it, these thoughts are gonna stay there until you resolve them. I am sorry that this is happening to you. Please secretly get the test done with an at-home kit. Then you will have all the information. Then decide what you want to do with the information. One step at a time. Also, please update us. Remind me. 14 days. You could do an Ancestry DNA type kit. They'll show up as your kids, if they are, as long as you do one too. The youngest may not be able to spit in the cup like he needs to, but the oldest could, and it sounds like they'll have the same dad, so knowing about one will give you the answer about both. If I were you, I would tell my wife if there's anything I need to know. Now is the time for her to tell you. Get the kids tested. Get that DNA test unless you want to live your life and find out when you're too old to have more kids you raised someone else's spawn and wasted your life. If they ain't yours, drop them and move on. Their real daddy can deal with it. Get a paternity test. Get confirmation first. Speak to a therapist before and after the test results. Then decide how you wish to proceed and if you still wish to be a father. When I was in high school, there was a genetic testing program for this condition. Certain groups of people tended to be carriers: Italian, Greeks, Med. Southeast Asian too, I think. Do you or your wife fall into any of the groups? Buy an Ancestry or 23andMe or something test kit and do yourself and the kids without telling her. Kids are 4AMD2 and in specialized private school classes. That doesn't seem right. Is Thea real? Get a shark divorce attorney to draw up divorce papers and separation agreement that asks for paternity upon your request and favors you only financially. Serve her divorce papers and God willing she'll do anything to fix marriage. Then have her sign separation agreement and get paternity test done for your own peace of mind. If they don't come back yours, sue her in civil court for paternity fraud. Do you love your wife and your kids? If so, and you guys are getting along, maybe it's better to let sleeping dogs lie. Simplest way to find out is to get a blood test. If your blood type isn't the same as yours, or mom's, I have some news for you. Children share the same blood type as one of their parents. If they match mom's blood, purchase a DNA swab kit offline. Rooting for you, man.